Hello and welcome back to another episode of This Podcast Counts as Socializing. We're your hosts, Nick and Kayla. And today our guest is Sarah. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm having my rum and coke.
Nice. You got a little Topo Chico here.
Got my wine per usual.
Not straight out of the bottle this time, though.
Yes, we finally have glasses, and I just realized how heavy of a fork I poured because I was trying to like.
It's quite a full wine glass.
If you laugh, I'll spill it. I was trying to like block out the letters so that you could read it, and I didn't quite think about how that was like the entire bottle. Okay, I plan on drinking the whole thing. My mom bought me a little like wine stopper because I've been going a little fancy lately and not getting the twist offs.
Oh,
and I was like, "Thank you, I really appreciate it. I do plan on drinking the entire bottle. I'm not gonna need that." So,
our first fan mail though.
We got fan mail
right here. Well, I mean, kind of.
Fan mail is great.
It was mailed
more
to
excited.
Me.
That's true. I'm more excited for our first hate mail.
Me too.
When you have we just have to Reddit snark page made about you.
Oh, that is the dream. That's how we'll know we made it.
I want someone to complain about me more. We did get a comment from that one guy.
We did get, and we got a dislike. Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but our flat Earth video, the man that we talked about in the video, the like flat Earth enthusiast conspirator guy, I think his name is Mark Sargent. He commented on our YouTube video and he disliked it. So that was pretty exciting.
That man needs to get off his computer, I think.
I think he's our first hater. Yeah, how did he find that video? Like, it's not like we don't have a huge following. That video has like 30 views. And he was like, he's like fucking Beetlejuice. Like, we said his name too many times and he showed up. So maybe he'll see this video too and give us another dislike. Mark, if you're listening, make sure that you engage, leave your comment, leave your dislike. We look forward to it. What was our other point of business?
I don't know, you were going to do an icebreaker, I thought.
Oh, I was. Okay, but before we get to the icebreaker, I do have another surprise for you, Nick.
Oh.
I need your help first, though. Do you have any, like, knock-knock jokes in your back pocket?
Sure. Knock-knock.
All right. Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Wait, no. Did I fuck that up? I think I fucked that up.
You were supposed to interrupt me.
I think I was supposed to say banana or something, right? Like 4 times. We have a soundboard now? Yeah.
I got a soundboard, baby.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're so legitimate now.
So legitimate. Yeah, so hopefully I'll have to add some more. I added a few sounds into the board that I think will help us today, but if you have any suggestions or if any of the fans have suggestions, I'll add some in.
All right. Cool.
But I think you'll be happy with what I've picked right off the bat. Okay, yeah, I'm ready. There's one that isn't labeled, and I think it's the one that I need for this particular topic, so I hope it's the right one, or we're just gonna have like a blunder at a very like monumental moment.
Yeah, we've got a great episode lined up today.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, you want to do the icebreaker first?
I do have an icebreaker. I have a question for you guys. So my question this week is, let's say you go back in time to pre-civilization, and you have none of the knowledge you have now. Like full brain refresh. What things do you think you could figure out on your own? Like the example I saw, she said she thinks she could figure out weaving.
So we're going like way, way back, like Neolithic.
Yeah, we're going like Stone Age.
Humans.
Yeah, like you are a caveman. Okay. You don't have any of your current knowledge. What are you discovering? What are you being the first of?
I could figure out like levers. Like a basic.
Like basic invention shit? Pulleys, maybe?
Yeah.
I think I'm figuring out the inclined plane.
Oh, for sure.
Lever, that's kind of an advanced one.
I'm feeling the wheel. I think I could pull. I think I can make a wheel.
You think you're inventing the wheel, Nick?
It's a circle.
No.
True, because I feel like maybe we would start using like some round rocks for something and then be like, this shit kind of works. That's a good one. I don't think I'm figuring out fire. I think that's way above my pay grade.
No.
I feel like
Unless
fire
it's an accident.
is one that would have been, well, yeah, I don't know exactly where we're going to be, but like fire is like a very base level invention.
If you did not know that fire existed, you think you're going to be like, maybe I should put more friction into this?
That's fair. But nobody really like invented fire. People like discovered fire because like things burn
I think
naturally.
I think that my only chance is like there's a lightning strike, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to like recreate that. You know what I mean?
No, I could not from baseline.
I don't think
rubbing sticks together. How do you get there from like seeing fire naturally? Like that's hard.
I think Sarah's got the best answer. Everything I'm like, I don't think I'm getting there on my own. I think I would be the person that figures out like cave painting, like the stuff that's like not necessary to survival. Like I'm gonna be the like personality hire of the group.
I would have loved flint knapping. I think I would have really enjoyed making tools. Like from rocks, like when you like, it's called napping.
You could do that now
with a K. I could, but like,
the fact that you knew the word for that. I think I'm figuring out like units, like how in Civilization you're like, oh, this person's gonna do the hunting. This person's gonna do like I feel like I'm figuring out that we should delegate tasks.
With specialization of labor.
Yes, because I'm gonna be like, I'm not doing that. But this is what I can bring to the table.
Fair enough. All right. Well, today we are gonna be talking about
You got it, Nick. You got this.
I do.
You practiced.
Yep. Weird animal sex and mating. And look at this, we have visuals now today. Let us know if you like the visuals, because I think we're going to keep doing this. So
make sure you explain all your visuals.
Yeah, I will.
For our audio listeners.
I will. Before we get into it, quick little thing. We're talking biology today. So sex is male and female. Generally, male organisms produce sperm and have XY chromosomes. This is in humans, and a penis. Or mammals. Female organisms have a uterus, produce eggs, and have XX chromosomes. This is not like entirely black and white. There are intersex people, there are trans people, there are, all this other stuff. Although trans is gender related, not so much sex. And it's completely different with other
Nick,
groups of animals.
I need to pause you. I have a very sad update. I can't use my soundboard while you're scratching.
Really?
No. Stop sharing your screen for a second so I can play my sound for you. It's very important. Okay, I'm done.
I didn't hear anything.
Oh wait. I had it on preview. I'll get better at it. Are you ready? I wanted to play it when you pulled up the title of the video.
Yeah. So sex determination is different with other species and animal groups and stuff like that. A lot of birds have a WZ sex determination.
Wait, Nick, this is what I researched for you. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you about it?
Well, I think we're gonna get into it more later. I just wanted to give like a quick.
Pull me in when you're ready. I pulled some interesting facts up for you.
I think we're gonna do it when we get to the insects and stuff, because that's when it gets real weird.
Okay.
Gender is a different thing. Gender is socially constructed. It is very much a human thing. Like animals do not have gender; they have sex. Gender is like it's related to your sex, kind of, but it's more like the things you're expected to do, how you're expected to look, act, all of those other stuff. So we're not really going to be talking about that today because animals don't have gender, but we are going to be talking about sex and mating because animals be weird with it. First up, we've got flies. Kayla, like, generally speaking,
I've got like
a lot of
vendetta against these flies.
You do. So most animals do it doggy style.
All animals do it doggy.
Not, you would think that, but not all animals actually do it
would
doggy.
you say baseline?
I would say that is the baseline, but here we've got a picture
Go back. We got to describe what we're looking at.
Yeah, oh, right. So here we have two, are these Drosophila flies? They're flies, whatever.
If they're fruit flies, they're Drosophila.
Yeah, two fruit flies getting it on.
And they fucking love fruit flies, so they're probably fruit flies. And the reason I say I have a vendetta against these fruit flies, which, Sarah, did you also take ecology at Purdue? Yeah, is because these fucking flies come up so often, and there's like a whole lecture about like the length of time that they stay like penetrated within the female and like stuff like that. And just the whole time I'm sitting there like, this doesn't matter. This is what's costing me $10,000 a year, is looking at these flies fucking.
The fact that this picture was up on the projector too, it was like
and then with like a lecture of a professor being so serious. So for our audio listeners, it's two flies doing it doggy style is really what we're looking at right now. And just imagine this like in a very serious Purdue lecture hall being discussed at nauseum.
Yeah, and
did you guys ever like mate fruit flies? Like in high school, we had to take fruit flies home in a test tube so that we could mate them.
Did you watch? Did you play some like smooth jazz?
We put them in a test tube. We like wait the amount of time it takes for them to mate, and then we let out all of the adult ones. So then we just have like the little eggs in there, and then we'd wait for those to hatch and then look at their characteristics.
Interesting.
Now,
I never did that.
I would have been scared of like infesting my house on accident.
Yeah, you had to put them like in the freezer before you took them out so they would fall asleep.
Yeah. They do that.
The classic freezer trick for insects.
Yeah, do you guys ever have Vincella as a... He was the bio, like basically like the 101 class, so like our first bio professor that we had freshman year. And he did that in one class. He just like pulled a bunch of flies out of his pocket that had been in the freezer and like dumped them on like the little overhead projector thing. I was like, these will wake up in a second. I don't even remember what we were supposed to be learning. I just remember him pulling flies out of his pocket.
Nothing like the old pocket fly, just to, they never expect
shout out
it.
Dr. Manchella at Purdue University.
chucking ice cold wasps at your enemies.
And then I remember he made a High School Musical joke once in class. And which already love it. Make a Troy and Gabriella joke. But what was awesome about the joke is he had a little bit of like his lecture notes had like slipped under like the overhead projector. So you could see that he had like line for line everything written out, including every joke of his lecture. And then where the Troy and Gabriella joke was, he had crossed it out, and it used to be like Jennifer Aniston and someone else. He had like updated the joke to make it like more relevant.
That's really funny.
I know. I was like, he's really out here trying. I appreciate it. So next slide, Nick.
So most animals do it doggy. That's kind of like the baseline, but we'll see.
Yeah,
like,
so you say baseline,
today.
All animals do it doggy, and then like would you agree with me that but would you agree with me that like all animals do it doggy, and then as they get like more evolved, they're like, let's try out some other positions?
Yes and no.
What about like it doesn't snail, quite though?
Yeah,
I don't know how snails
quite
because they're
work.
just
elaborate, Sarah.
They
go ahead.
At least slugs do this. They just like twist together.
Yeah. Snakes also just like be twisting together. I want to say snails do something weird. I could be wrong about that.
I think it's similar to a slug, but
I can't believe you didn't look into slug sex.
Well,
Nick.
that was just one that I forgot about.
We'll have to do a part 2. I'm sure there's enough sex
I
in the
feel
world
like
for part
snails
2.
have some like kind of they both have like a thing that like protrudes and then they like
A lot
stick
of
those
them
together.
hermaphrodites.
Yeah.
Oh.
I
So
think they like do this thing where they like fight each other and like both try to impregnate the other.
Okay, I'm kind of
That's
into
not one that I
that.
researched, but I kind of remember hearing about this at one point. It's yeah.
I would be okay with the situation where we're both trying to peg each other and it's like a fight to see who wins.
Like competitive like
sword
boxing,
fighting.
but also you're sword fighting. Yeah,
It's
perfect.
like fencing. Yeah. Okay, so Nick has switched the slide, and now we're looking at, are these chimpanzees, apes? What are these?
They are bonobos. Apparently,
and they're in this like little. I'm just going to describe their sex position for our audio listeners. So it looks like, I'm assuming the male is the one like in this squatting position, and then the female's legs are like over his legs, and she's kind of leaning back onto her like knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
It looks fire, in my opinion, if you can find a guy with this kind of leg strength.
Something I learned recently about bonobos is that they're one of the few other animals to have sex for pleasure.
They do, yeah. I was just going to mention that. Not very many animals do have sex for pleasure. It's like humans, dolphins, I believe, and bonobos. And
I hate dolphins. Don't get me started on my vendetta with dolphins.
Dolphins are kind of the worst. Yeah.
If dolphins have 0 haters, I'm dead.
You were killed by a dolphin. Yeah, so
if I go missing suspiciously, ask the dolphins.
Mm-hmm. So kind of this whole episode today is going to be talking about some of the like exceptions to animals doing it doggy. On to the next slide, we're going to be talking about hyenas.
I don't like being proved wrong.
Female hyenas have what are called pseudopenises. It's actually their clitoris. I think this image here is just like very shitposty because it's like showing a picture of a male and female hyena genitalia, and it's like the female's not very curvy, tip round, slightly shorter than an actual penis, and for the males it's like curvy, tip pointed, clear and narrowing above the glands, and it's just wild.
Yeah, this. But I'm assuming this was like in someone's textbook.
Oh, I think so.
If
yeah,
I opened my textbook
or scientific paper.
If I saw this in my textbook, I mean, it would make my day. It'd be like one of those little wins of the week where it's like, I am gonna make it to next week.
Yes.
The thing about me, working at a zoo as a teenager in high school, I know so much about animal penises because obviously that was a hot topic.
I love that about you, Sarah. That is so hot.
Like, I've been in the know on the hyena pseudopenis. Ducks have a corkscrew penis.
Yeah, I was going to mention
that. Sarah, don't give anything away.
We're not going to get real into the ducks, but like, I feel like it's obligatory to mention it because it's one that a lot of people know these days. But like, it's wild. Yeah.
So Nick, question. So the pseudopenis, you said it's the clitoris of the hyena?
It is the clitoris.
Hyena?
Yep.
So in other animals, like, does the clitoris... Okay, I don't know how I want to phrase this question. Do you know what I'm asking?
I feel like I know what you're getting at.
Because like they're not having sex for pleasure, right? So like, does the clitoris have a purpose then if it's not happy fun times?
It has 3 purposes. It is one combined whole for peeing, mating, and giving birth. That all happens through this like 8+ inch long clitoris on the hyena.
Okay, so it's their only hole.
It is their only. Well, they don't have a cloaca,
butthole.
So it's they still have a butthole, but urination, mating, and birth giving all happens through this one very long, very narrow tube. You might be asking, I think like 60% of hyena pups like die in birth, and like 40% of first-time hyena mothers like die.
Pseudopenis?
Yeah, sometimes they're like umbilical cord like isn't long enough and they'll like suffocate in there. A lot of like hyena mothers die. The like first-time mothers die because it's just like it's like an 8-inch long tube that you're trying to shove a baby out through, like, you know. It's
this
not
feels
ideal
like a
birthing
weird.
conditions.
Yeah, this feels like
It
a weird
is.
evolutionary decision.
Very weird. So, like, there's two hypotheses on why this may have evolved, right? So, hyena society is...
Hypotheses.
Hyena society is female dominated. So they think... Yeah, so, like, they form these, like, matrilineal groups, and, like, secession is
I feel
passed
like
on by
that's
the
really
mothers and all this,
common in
right?
the animal world. I feel like
It
humans are
is.
the outlier here with the
Yeah,
patriarchy.
I mean, it's all over the place in terms of matriarchal and patriarchal societies. So they think that sometimes, like, the main female may give birth, right, and other females that are kind of competing for her place might try to kill her female children, in order to give theirs a better chance at becoming the like pack leader later in life. So it might be better to look like a male when you're first born, and, like, the hyena babies have these male and female, so it, like, can be hard to tell.
Penis envy.
And the other reason, the other hypothesis is that evolutionary penis envy right there.
Have you heard about penis
I've heard
envy
the term.
before?
Yeah. The other hypothesis is that it gives females more choice into when to mate. Because they both have to kind of...
Let's discuss the penis envy more. Sarah, how do you feel about that?
I don't know if I relate. I really, maybe just from a purely convenience standpoint, it seems easier
I
to
just kind of want
maintain.
to play with it a little bit.
They are rather convenient. Like being able to pee anywhere.
I love being a woman, but I would love to just, like, flop it around a little bit. Just needed to share that with the world and my grandmother.
Yep. Hi, Kayla's grandmother.
I hope she turned this episode off already.
Yeah, she might. Who knows? Maybe she's cool like that. So yeah, the other hypothesis is that it gives females more choice in when to mate, because they both have to, like, I mean, it's an 8-inch long tube. Like, you kind of got to both be erect and ready for that.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask. So, like, it gets hard.
I believe so. Yeah, that was my understanding after reading stuff.
It would make sense, like a mammalian clitoris, like, fills with blood the same way a penis does for intercourse. So,
yep,
that would be
and so they think
logical.
They think that it's probably a combination, right? Like, it's better to look male when you're young so you don't get killed by rival hyena mothers, and it's probably because, again, it's a female-dominated society, so, like, they are the ones that are choosing who they want to mate with. It's not like
okay, queens.
Yeah, so, like, it's they think that's a big part of it, right? Okay, so that's all I got on hyenas. Now we're going to talk a little bit about duck penis mentions. They've got a corkscrew penis. It's...
Can I ask if you know about a certain duck event? Do you know about Dead Duck Day?
No.
I'm
sure you'll tell us
the exact events, but it's something involving like a gay duck relationship, but one duck has already died. It was like the first instance of, like, homosexual necrophilia in animals.
Oh my god!
If you look up Dead Duck Day, you'll find it.
Okay, this is great to know.
Was that like gay duck couple from that one zoo or something?
No, this was in the wild.
Oh, okay.
No, this is good to mention because I want to do a whole episode on necrophilia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll definitely look into that more.
There's a lot of, like, homosexual sex in nature as well.
Yeah, did you happen to look into the whales at all? The homo whales? I don't know why I said it like that.
No, I did not. Don't know about the homo whales.
That was a recent occurrence. Which I don't really know much about, other than there were 2 males penetrating each other spotted recently. Male whales. But that's interesting to me, considering we just talked about, like, how many species mate, like, have sex for pleasure. So, like, what is their end goal there?
Yeah. I think a lot of scientists are, like, not totally sure about the whole, like, homosexuality and nature thing. Sometimes they think it's like, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, and so you just kind of
Mistaken
rock up
identity.
and try it, and like, yeah, especially with like insects and stuff like that, and like species without a bunch of sexual dimorphism. Which we should probably explain what sexual dimorphism is. That's when you have like
Go
very
ahead,
different.
Nick.
Yeah. So you have a male and female of the same species that look wildly different. You see this a lot in birds. Like the peacock comes to mind, right? Same species, but
Birds,
the
yeah,
males
birds
are
have
brightly
some of the
colored and
most.
huge feathers with all these intricate patterns on them and stuff like that. Whereas the females are like gray and like short feathers. They just kind of exist.
They're peacocking.
Yep, they're peacocking. Exactly. It can happen for a bunch of different reasons. Sometimes it's like size based. Sometimes the males are bigger. Sometimes the females are bigger. Sometimes it's coloring. All of this other stuff, right? That's all part of the whole thing here. And we're not talking about like, this is non-specific to male and female genitalia, right? Like it's the whole body can be like very different. There's a little bit of sexual dimorphism in humans, but significantly less so than in other animals. But the reason that ducks have corkscrew penises is because there's kind of this like evolutionary arms race that's going on between male and female ducks, because there's a lot of like non-consensual breeding in a lot of cases, and
Consent is not huge in the animal kingdom.
it really isn't. Animals care about passing their genetics on and not about a lot else. Yeah. So male ducks evolved corkscrew penises to like make sure it stayed in there once it was in, basically, and then like female duck vaginas evolved to like be corkscrews, but in like the opposite direction, so it'd be like super hard to get penis in there. And there's all this like,
it's like
back and like,
it's like having like a light bulb, but like the grooves are the opposite direction.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly pleasant for any of them, but
none of them are having a good time.
No. Yeah.
Nick, you got more to say on that, or?
Well, yes. So ducks are not the only animals with like crazy penises. We also have like cats have barbs on their penis, so that once it's inserted, it's not coming out until he's done, basically.
We saw Obi's penis one time, and it traumatized the household.
Yeah, we don't have any pictures.
I think Shay saw it. I think Shay saw it more than once. Because I think he got a little frisky on her bed maybe one time, but we all saw it collectively, and we were just like, we're like, Obi, you've got to put that away. You can't show us that.
Yeah. A lot of male mammals actually have barbed penises. We're not.
I wanted to see the duck penis.
I looked up a lot of things, and I just like, I didn't want to like force anyone else to see any of this. So if you want to Google it on your own, you're welcome to. But like, no. Mice have barbed penises. Chimpanzees have barbed penises. Humans, thankfully, do not, because they are horrifying looking. Dogs have like, it's not a barb, but they have like a bulbous thing at the base that like they expand after insertion so that the penis stays in until they've finished and the sperm has been deposited. A lot of stuff here around making sure that if you're going to have sex and you're going to expend all that energy, that like you're giving yourself the best odds of getting to completion.
Do you talk about like the do you talk about the like shape of the human penis at all in your notes?
I actually didn't. I think most people are like familiar with it.
The way you described the dog penis remind me of like, you know how like the tip of a penis has like the mushroom head?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's like a theory from like evolutionary biologists that like the shape of the human penis is so that when you're like extracting, if a male has like ejaculated in that female before you, you'll like scoop out their jizz like with like the shape of the penis head.
I don't. Wow, interesting.
The more you know, Nick.
The more you know. Kind of in a similar vein.
I want you to think about that next time.
Yeah, in prairie dogs, there's something that they call a mating plug, where after male prairie dogs have ejaculated inside the female, they leave some extra fluid in there that like hardens and forms a plug inside the vagina so that other males can't breed with the same female afterward. It eventually is expelled and it doesn't harm them or anything like that. But yeah, it's like
okay,
like 2-part epoxy, basically.
I have anecdotal evidence to share on this topic. We do a similar thing for like mouse studies. Like if we're doing like embryonic stuff and we want to know like how many days old like an embryo is, we check for plugs like on female mice, like in breeder cages. Yeah, and you're just like literally you like check to see like you basically like we go in and we just see like, oh, is this female plugged, and we're just like looking at her little vagina and seeing if there's like a little sperm plug in it. Yeah. Yep. My job is so fun. It's so interesting how often we like sit around and we just talk about like mouse sex with each other. And like we had this like a couple months ago we had this line of mice where we like none of them were fucking, basically, like we couldn't get them to like have sex with each other and like produce mice, so we were just sitting around like brainstorming ways to get them to fuck each other. And one of the things you do is like you give them like different enrichment like in their cages, like you give them like huts and stuff, like you gotta set the mood.
They gotta have a nice house, good paying job.
Exactly. Like she's not gonna give it up for free.
Cool
and
car.
we have like various names. Like we say like, oh, let's add a coital cottage. Let's add a fuck hut. Like we have so many like it's so unserious. We have so many like little names for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Where were you, Nick?
Prairie dog mating plugs. But that was pretty much all I had for that. So one more thing before we get into the non-land animals and mammals and stuff. Kangaroos. Female kangaroos have like 3 internal vaginas. The third one only forms when they get pregnant. So they start with like, there's one opening, but then there's 2 like passageways that go to I believe it's like 2 separate uteruses.
The uteri.
Uteri, yeah.
The uteruses.
Basically, and then the middle one forms once they're pregnant, and it's a more like direct outlet for the joeys. So they're joeys, right?
Yeah,
sure.
That's the right word for baby kangaroo. And basically, the reason for that is it lets them like have 2 pregnancies going on independently at the same time. So you can like get pregnant and then a couple months later get pregnant again in the other one. You have 2 embryos developing, and then they can be birthed separately like at different times, and it allows them to stay pregnant for like as long as they need to or want to.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then the third one is just there to have like a more direct exit on the way out.
Oh, like strictly a birth canal?
Yeah, the third one is strictly a birth canal. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got. Oh, I got one more thing. So this is not really an animal, and like reproduction gets really weird when you start looking at like single-celled organisms or like fungi and stuff like that. And this one is a fungi. It's called the Schizophyllum commune, which I think is a really funny name. And it's a species of fungus.
Like a cult.
It does sound like a cult, right? I mean, the commune and the schizo in there is really funny as well. I don't know who named this.
Schizo cult, like
I don't know who actually I don't know who named that genus, but the schizophyllum is a phenomenal like genus name
It's
for a
kind of
mushroom.
the way stuff gets named, like in taxonomy, it's really funny because like there is no like there really aren't any rules necessarily. Like if you're the first one to name something, you can kind of pick whatever you want, which is how we get like weird shit like the Sonic the Hedgehog gene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they have, I'm going to talk about them because they're eukaryotic. So there's like a fair amount of like similarity between them and animals. But fungi get weird. And they they have a tetrapolar mating system. And I don't fully understand this because like each cell has like two different mating things, and essentially what it all boils down to is they have like 23,000 plus different mating types, which are kind of like an analog for sexes in fungi, and they're all like different because they don't have like the like in animals we have like sex chromosomes, but they don't have sex chromosomes, they have like sex alleles, and there's a bunch of different combinations that allow for up to like 23,000 something different mating types, which is just insane. And I think most of them can reproduce with most of the other ones, but only certain combinations produce fruiting bodies. So it's this whole, I mean, fungi get weird. We'll have to do another episode where we talk about fungi one day, but yeah, they're crazy.
Oh, we could do a whole, oh my God, we should definitely do a mycology episode.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about insects and all of the weird sex that they have, because insects are wild.
Insects?
We got to mention insects, yeah. I actually wrote that in my note, INSX. We got to talk about fig wasps. I think a lot of people have heard this at this point. We gotta talk about it. But wild figs,
I've never heard
are
of this.
pollinated by fig wasps. Each tree has its own species, and basically the fruit, like the fig fruit, is actually like has a bunch of flowers on the inside. They're all really small, and it's like, you know how like raspberries are like a bunch of little individual like seeds on there? It's like that, but like on the inside of the fruit. And each of those develop from a tiny little flower that was in there before the fruit is ripe. And there's a tiny little hole on the end that a female pregnant fig wasp will find a ripening fig. She will crawl through that little hole in the end, which causes her wings to get ripped off because it's so small. And then she will go in there and lay an egg, like lay a bunch of eggs and fertilize all of those flowers inside the fig. So now, or pollinate them, right? Because she came from a different fig, so she's pollinating all the figs in there, or all the fig flowers in there, and laying a bunch of eggs. She dies in there, right? So there is a dead wasp in that fig. And then the males hatch first inside the fig fruit, and they go and they fertilize all of their sisters that are also in the plant with them. So they are like mating with the not yet fully developed female eggs in there. And then they like dig a tunnel out of the fig and like die and get eaten by other birds and insects on the outside of the fig. And then all the females hatch, and they pick up a bunch of pollen on their way out of the fig, and then they go and fly off and find another fig to go do the exact same thing in. And their lifespans are like super short, and it's just like crazy levels of coevolution here, where like the figs and the fig wasps have evolved wholly dependent on each other for reproduction. Yeah, but they literally are like, they are born inside the fig.
I'm glad that I didn't love figs before, because I think I'll never eat a fig again.
So a lot of like commercially produced figs don't require fig wasps in order to be grown and harvested and everything like that. But all
I don't think
wild
I've ever
figs,
actually eaten a fig.
I don't think
I've only ever had a
just
fig
like a straight up fig. Yeah, I've eaten things that.
Yeah,
I'm not
which
sure
I'm
I
assuming
can picture a fig.
No, I just, my idea of what a fig looks like is what the picture on the Fig Newton packaging looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna assume that's not even real fig.
I think it is in there, actually.
I'm picturing a reddish purple round fruit.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
maybe a
much.
And that's
plum
about all I
looking.
have.
Yeah.
It is kind of plum looking, but like all the fruity stuff is on the inside of it.
Yeah, I won't be eating any figs anytime soon.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me into, you know, how are fig wasps having sex with their brothers and sisters and like not dying
You
of
didn't
like
have to say it like
inbreeding?
that.
Well, that's what they're doing. They are mating with like their brothers and sisters inside this fig. Yeah, so there's a lot of a lot of incest that goes on in the insect kingdom. Like so much incest. It's just kind of what they do.
Don't they usually have like hives or colonies and like all the
a
breeding
lot of
goes
times,
on within?
Right? Yeah, so we'll get to bees and ants in a little bit and all of the weird stuff that they do because they have like one queen and she's the only one that lays eggs, so they're all being fertilized by her offspring. There's also a lot of like parent-child mating that goes on in the insect realm. But yeah, they make it work. And the way that it works is because insects do not have X and Y sex chromosomes, right? They are not purely diploid organisms, which means they have two copies, or they have two sex chromosomes each. The males only have one. So they are what's considered
I can explain this, Nick, if you'd like.
Go for it.
Okay, so in insects, including bees, sex determination isn't decided by fertilization, but rather isn't decided by chromosomes, but rather by fertilization. So it's either you are fertilized and therefore you are a female and you have two sets of each chromosome. So you have the chromosomes from your mom and your dad, and that makes you the diploid. Or you are unfertilized and therefore you are the haploid organism. And then you're just hatching with one set of chromosomes.
Yeah, and so this isn't every insect, but a lot of insects are haplodiploidy or haplodiploid.
The honeybee is like the most popular example.
It is, yeah. If you're a non-audio listener, if you have the visuals up, I'm going to talk you through this little chart that I drew in MS Paint last night. So we've got here
Nick.
a male and a male and a female bee, basically, or beetle, or whatever
that's what that is,
or fly. Yeah, those are male and female flies. The female has.
I thought those were little heads with bows on them.
They've got the male and female symbol right next to them. What do you mean?
And I understand that. I thought this was a boy with a bow on.
It could be. It could be. But not a human boy. It's definitely a bug boy. So she's got two copies of her sex chromosomes. He's only got one copy of his sex chromosome. And what that means is when they have, in order to reproduce, right? If it's a fertilized egg, you end up with like 4 different possibilities for each gene or each allele on that sex chromosome. So like, even though you're like reproducing with your brother or your sibling or whatever, you're still maintaining a fair amount of genetic diversity. And this happens a lot with insects because they have really short lifespans. A lot of them can't really travel very well. They tend to be like very niche specific, like the fruit, like the fig wasp. Like, you're born inside a fig, and the only things around to mate with are like other offspring that were from the same mother. So like, there's just a lot. It just happens a lot, right? And the haplodiploid thing evolved in order to like prevent all of the bad outcomes from inbreeding in mammals and stuff like that. If you are born a male, haplodiploid organism, you did not have a dad. You do have a grandfather, but you did not have a father. Females are born from a mother and father mating, right? So only the fertilized eggs, like Kayla said earlier, develop into females, and all of the unfertilized eggs develop into males. This is really good for insects like the button beetle, where let's say you're a female button beetle and you're like, man, I really need to lay a bunch of female eggs, because the females tend to be more valuable to the species, because they're actually the ones that are capable of like producing offspring. And let's say you weren't able to find a mate, what you do is you just lay a bunch of male eggs and then mate with the males that hatch from that, and then you eat them all to retain all of that energy and resources that you put into producing them, because they're really like, males like do not do a lot in a lot of insect species. Like, it's pretty common to see males that don't have mouth parts, really don't have digestive systems, don't have wings in winged insects. Like, they just exist to help the females produce more females. Like,
yeah, they're just around to like provide chromosome.
Pretty much.
Or
bees and ants,
or in cases where chromosomes don't exist, provide extra gene.
Yeah. Bees and ants, like colonial insects, you have the queen, who is like the only reproducing female in the nest or hive. You have the drones, which are the males that exist purely to have sex and then die. And you have the workers, which are nominally female, but actually, like, generally their reproductive parts don't develop. I believe they do the X0 sex determination. Is that right, Kayla? Did you look that up?
For which one?
For bees. Are they X0 or are they haplodiploid? I can't
Let me consult my notes.
Okay. Yeah, and queen bees are really interesting too.
Bees don't have chromosomes.
Okay. There you go.
I am not confident in that answer.
Okay.
But I think I'm right.
I know
they don't have sex chromosomes. Sorry,
right.
that was...
Yeah, well, they have chromosomes.
They don't have sex chromosomes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So workers are female, but they like lack all of the like necessary stuff for being female, right? Like they usually don't develop like fully functional reproductive organs and stuff like that. They exist just to like take care of the hive and raise the next generation and all of that stuff. Queens are crazy because they have the same genetics as, you know, the rest of the female bees in the hive. But what is different is that they are given royal jelly when they are still like eggs developing in the hive, which is like this special. I know, right? It's the names for bee stuff is really fun.
Royal jelly.
Royal jelly. I know.
Royal jelly just makes me think of the Phineas and Ferb episode with the bees, and the one like other evil lady equivalent to Dr. Doofenshmirtz is looking for like the royal jelly hairspray.
I was gonna say, like, it sounds like it's
if
like
anyone's familiar.
Literally anything but.
Yeah, it's such a funny
name. Anyone knows the
and
Phineas and Ferb lore?
It kind of reminds me of the jellyfish from SpongeBob producing jelly. I don't know why. I think there's the word jelly, but you know. Yeah, but if you are a female egg that gets fed a bunch of royal jelly while you're developing, they actually like put you in the royal jelly, like fill your little tube, your little honeycomb section.
Put me in the royal jelly.
Yeah, they literally just like put you in there, and then the queens are fed royal jelly for their entire life, and it's this like hormone-packed sugar syrup with like bunch of nutrients,
Obviously.
bunch of like hormones that like it's all epigenetic, right? So the genes are there in the non-breeding females as well, in the workers, but they're not activated because they're not fed royal jelly. So the feeding of royal jelly like activates all these genes that turn the queen bees into like egg factories basically. And all they do every day is like eat royal jelly and like pump out eggs that are fertilized by the males. And it's
I just want you to know, Nick, that I am picturing little British bees like having tea as you're explaining this, and like eating royal jelly.
Like toast with some royal jelly on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just spend all day at tea time eating their royal jelly with their eggs.
Specifically the Queen of England. It's whatever jelly she's eating becomes royal jelly.
What Queen of England?
Former Queen of England. Long live the king, or whatever. Another thing that's really common with insects is sexual cannibalism. You see this a lot with like spiders and mantises and other stuff like that.
Hopefully me one day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already on a watch list. I gotta be careful.
Yeah, I know. I had to Google a bunch of stuff on my work computer the other night, and I was like, man, I hope they don't like see this ever. So I'm like,
I was on the Reddit forum.
Hyena penis.
Dude, I was at work on the Reddit forum. Illegal stuff. Like, it was all threads about how to do shit illegally.
Nice. What were you trying to do illegally?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I would like to know. That's why I asked. Yeah, so a lot of insects engage in sexual cannibalism. There's a lot of reasons for this. Like, it's good nutrition for the mother. It's just like the males kind of only exist to like mate and die anyway. Like, so it's like, why not reuse all of those?
That doesn't show how unimportant the males are. It's like, okay, give me some jizz, and then fuck off. I'm literally gonna eat you.
Yep, and it's not every insect species, but it is definitely a lot of insect species where you see this kind of thing. There's also some really interesting escape methods, because it turns out if you're the male of these species, like, it's not great genetically, evolutionarily, to just die after mating, right? Like, it'd be better if you tried to mate again. So there's some spiders
in the animal kingdom, like, it's kind of this idea that what's the word? Not like, fitness. Like, a male's fitness is equated to how much they can like spread their jizz, basically, like how much they can jizz over their lifetime. So like, if you only jizz once and then get eaten, like, that's a lower fitness for the male. He's got to play the field a little bit.
So that brings me to the spider known as Hot Wheels Sisyphus. That is its actual scientific name.
Do you have a picture of Hot Wheels?
I didn't put one in the presentation, but
good, because it would have freaked me out. I know it.
Yeah, but they like, when they're escaping from sexual cannibalism, they like roll into like a wheel shape and they roll away. They literally just like roll away from the other female insects, which I think is so funny.
I love
this was that button beat. No, go back. This was that button beetle that I mentioned earlier. One other thing I want to touch on. So I was like, as I was drawing this image with the male and female bees, I was like, man, where do those symbols come from? The male and female ones. It turns out they're Venus and Mars, which I did not know. But personally, the way that I have always remembered them is that I thought this one kind of looked like a boner, the Mars one. And I was like, that's male. So, I don't know. Did you guys have like a way of memorizing that? Or do you just not?
You know, that's funny, because I use those symbols every day. I don't think I had like a system to. I'm sure I did at some point.
It's just so ingrained.
It's at the point
in you.
where it's just like it's like ingrained. Like, I just know what they are.
I needed it like just occasionally enough in like ecology and some other classes where it was like.
Have you? Have you ever been like somewhere where the you try to go to the bathroom and they're trying to be like clever with their signs, and you're suddenly like, am I a pirate or a mermaid? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, where it just makes no sense at all. That's what I feel like it's giving.
Yeah. And like, so it's actually supposed to be like Mars, you know, the Greek or the Roman god, his sword or his spear and shield. They think that the Venus one might be like a mirror. It's his spear and his shield. They think the Venus one might be like a mirror. Neptune is his trident, obviously. Pluto and Jupiter are both based on like Greek letters, like PL, and then the Jupiter one is actually supposed to be a Z. It was like a really stylized Z that now looks like the number 24. Kind of weird. Moon and Sun make a lot of sense. Mercury is like his staff, whatever. But it's kind of funny because there's definitely still some like old gender role ideas baked into these, like, you know, Mars and Venus being what they are, who they are.
I don't know who they are.
Venus is Aphrodite. Mars is Ares. He's the god of war.
Well, I feel
she
like
is
Venus
the goddess
kind
of
of
beauty.
makes sense.
It does.
Aphrodite is also the goddess of like sex and fertility, so I feel like that's a good symbol for like the sexes.
Yeah, it is. It makes sense, but it kind of breaks down when you get outside humans and mammals, and even then, it's a little like there's gray areas. It's a spectrum.
Damn, I finished my wine and I don't even feel that drunk.
Damn, you gotta get another bottle.
I do have another bottle, but 2 bottles would be insane.
Well, you could do like 1.5.
But then I won't have a bottle to drink tomorrow, Nick.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so just general insect stuff, like a lot of males aren't equipped to live past reproduction. Like their sole purpose in life is reproduce and die. And they tend to have like shorter lifespans and do a lot of incest.
That's okay. To get into like a social aspect, isn't that kind of crazy that like for the human world, like the roles have gotten reversed to like there are people that see women as just like your role is reproduce and die?
Mm-hmm.
Like
it is
when
weird,
did we
yeah.
Why how did we flip so hard?
Well, I think it's you got to be a little careful with like anthropomorphizing animals because they just operate on like completely different, you know, rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get like they operate completely on like evolution and instinct and whatnot, and not necessarily under social construct, but like we constructed the social part.
We did.
You
that
know,
is true.
so why did we construct so far away from the evolution and the instinct? Like that's the interesting part.
Mm-hmm. Well, but there are also some species where males take a more dominant role. So I mean, it's
Like which ones? Like
ducks and who did we talk about earlier?
Even ducks, it honestly feels kind of equal, right? Like they're both like evolving at the same pace to like compete with each other.
Yeah, there is, but there are like male dominated social hierarchies in other animals, like lions or something like that.
I don't believe you. But even
a lot of
lions,
like grazers.
Not even lions. Like I know that like the lion is like the head of the pride, but it feels like the lioness has more power.
Yeah.
It's just that the lion is taking on multiple like impregnations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The females tend to do most of the work in lion society. Like they're the ones hunting. Like the men just kind of the males lay around all day and like.
Yeah,
at least
they
the
give me
dominant
very
males do,
like.
anyway.
Yeah, the like lion society gives me very like deadbeat dad, like bottom feeder.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we're gonna talk about them in a bit.
Has multiple baby mamas that are like doing all the work.
Seahorses.
Oh, you're getting there.
We're gonna get to seahorses in a little bit. Actually, you know what? We're gonna get to the ocean right now. When I was like writing this episode, I thought about this image a lot. It says WTF is going on in the sea, a fundamentally unserious place, and it's just like some anemones on a rock. The ocean is like another level of weird, right? So like fish, a lot of fish.
You know, like the Planet Earth series.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot watch the ocean ones like unless I'm in the right headspace. They really fucking scare me.
There's always some shit going on, you know?
They're scary.
Fish have a lot of orgies, where they just kind of like release
I didn't know
sperm and eggs into the water, and like they're all just like swimming around and like just release it. Like there's
that.
no
I'm just like, good
there's
luck.
no intercourse. They just are like the sperm and the egg are in the water, and then some of them get together and drift off, and they develop into fish elsewhere. Fish parents,
They're
generally
just so
speaking,
small. They can't have all their eggs in them.
yeah, exactly. They just kind of are like,
You gotta get them out.
Get them out there and hope they live.
Yeah,
so
there's
yeah.
basically like there's like two types of creatures, right? Like I forget when I did this in biology, it's like the R number,
Mhm.
and it's like you're
Oh.
either an organism that puts a lot of care and trust into having like one baby, and
Yep.
your goal is to get that baby to then spread on their genetic material. So that's often like mammals, right? Like they can
Mhm.
they can produce maybe one or two at a time, or like dogs and cats maybe up to like 8, 9, 10, but not very many compared to like insects, fish. And then there's the opposite end where they're like, I'm not going to put a lot of care and trust into each child. I'm just going to have as many as possible and hope that enough of them go on to spread their genetic material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and you see that a lot with like smaller species generally. Where like you just like put as many offspring out there as possible and they'll figure it out. Or it's like, yeah, you put a lot of effort into making sure that they have the best shot at life. Corals also be doing this whole like orgy thing. They can't move, right? So they just like shoot sperm and eggs out onto the reef, and a lot of them like sink
we're calling
up.
that an orgy, Nick?
I mean, kind of. What would you call it, Kayla?
I wouldn't even call that sexual reproduction. Are we calling that?
It's sexual.
Sex?
I mean, it's multiple organisms are involved in it, but
you're
it's
right.
not.
You're right. I guess what.
Yeah, it is.
It
It is much
gives
more
pollination
like
vibes. I guess they are jizzing though, are they not?
They are, yeah, and they're just like blasting it out into the ocean, and a lot of times they like sync
blasting it out.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like synced with like moon phases and stuff like that, so that the whole reef like comes at the same time, releases all of their genetic material.
Get your boys together and release your genetic material at the same time.
Exactly. Staying on the reef, octopi. There's some species of octopus have like crazy sexual dimorphism, right?
Would you say octopussy?
You could say octopussy. The octopussy is actually located just between like the head of the octopus and the arms. It's like kind of right on like where their neck would be. Sometimes some scientists call it like their nostril.
So it's not where the mouth is. Like
the mouth,
fingernail,
the beak.
creatine shit is. Yeah, the beak.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like the same composition as like a human fingernail.
Yeah, keratin. It's not down there at the base of all of the mouths. No, all of the arms. It is in fact like on the top. And do you know where the male octopus penis is? Do you guys want to guess at where this could be?
Okay, wait, let me think. Okay, so the female octopussy.
It is. It's one of the tentacles. It's just one of the tentacles.
Just one of them? Penis. Just one of the 8?
It's slightly shorter, right?
I think so, yeah. And it's just one of the 8. And it's like,
damn, I'm out here giving full guesses, and Sarah's like, I studied for the quiz.
Well, it's like in Finding Nemo, you know, like so the little like octopus or squid, and he's like, "Oh, one of mine's shorter." That's his penis.
I thought that was a girl octopus. I know the girl that's like, "You made me eat."
Yeah.
If it's a girl, then maybe it just has a shorter one. But if it's a boy, then
okay. Well, no. Yeah. Okay, now that you're like saying it, like I guess like it definitely could be a male.
It could have just been like a young boy's
octopus.
Voice. Yeah.
I was gonna say the octopus in question, like they're all children, so like they kind of all sound the same. Oh they wow, you really just reframed that character for me.
So yeah, with octopus, the penis is one of their arms. Some species of
I love
octopus
so
do
the octopus is literally just sticking an arm into her neck.
well, in some cases, yes, we're gonna get to this. So in some species,
Oh.
right, there is some sexual cannibalism, right? So in order to prevent being eaten immediately after reproducing, some male octopuses can detach that arm and it will like swim through the water over to the female vagina octopussy and then insert itself in there and deposit.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh my
so can you
imagine
a detachable laser guided
you bring
penis?
A guy home. Imagine you bring a guy home and he removes his penis and drone activates
and throws it at you.
Towards you.
He puts it in a slingshot.
Also, on the Finding Nemo thread, in the second movie, isn't there an octopus missing one leg?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen the second movie.
His whole thing is he's an octopus, but he has 7 legs.
Yeah.
So he's a
He's like, I'm a
septopus?
Yeah. He says it in the movie. Do they grow that leg back?
I don't think so. I think what happens a lot is a lot of octopuses don't really live that long after reproduction anyway. They kind of tend to senesce afterward. I think some species can
so
grow
they do
back.
all that just to...
or they develop one of their other arms into a new penis or something like that. I think it's... I couldn't find like great answers on this because I think it depends a lot on the specific octopus species. Yeah, but they can do that. They can in fact detach and like send it swimming, which is just insane to me.
Damn, detachable penis. That's fantastic. I never knew that.
Sharks don't have hands, right? They also do not do it doggy.
Clearly.
So in order to like hold on when they're mating,
they don't
there's
do
a lot
doggy?
They don't really do it doggy. I mean, there's not really like the parts are both on the bottom, right? And they're not like
You're right.
Yeah, it's not like a tetrapod where it's like right at the back for you.
Damn, I'm gonna have to reframe to all mammals do it doggy.
Yeah, maybe. Well, but like most animals don't. Most like marine animals don't be having like sex. It's just like pollination.
Yeah, they just
throwing
be
that shit
jizzing
out
into
there.
water and hoping.
Yeah. Kayla, I don't know what you're doing, but it's loud.
Damn, no, I stopped because I realized I was probably making a lot of noise and I still got called out for it.
Sorry. A lot of like
That's
older female
what if I hadn't
sharks,
noticed?
You see a lot of mating scars on them. The male sharks have 2 penises, so they can mate on like either side. It's like split. And so they like will bite like the fins or like by the head and stuff like that and just like hold on because that's the only way that they can hold on to each other while they're doing it. This picture right here is one of the first ever baby great white sharks ever captured on video. That was like a couple months ago.
Was this recent?
It was very recent. It was in like January, yeah. Apparently sharks are like very reclusive when it comes to like mating.
Secretive.
Like,
they're
a lot of scientists like
about their sex
lives.
lives.
They are. Like people like for a long time didn't know where they went to mate, didn't know how they mated, didn't like, and depending on the species, we still don't. We think there's some like mating hotspots for like whale sharks in like Hawaii and some other places, and they just kind of like are very secretive and secluded about where and when they reproduce. Some sharks can also reproduce asexually. It's called parthenogenesis, where basically like the female shark will just like develop an embryo in her without any sperm involved. This happens like often enough at aquariums that people are like, wait a minute, there's an extra baby shark in this all-female shark tank.
Is that her name?
All of a sudden,
I was gonna say, have you guys been following the stingray?
Mm-hmm.
It is taking so long for it to give birth.
Yeah.
Is she still pregos?
Yeah.
I think so.
She's still prego. I saw an update a few days ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in a little bit.
Yeah, everyone was freaking out about her being alone in a tank and being pregnant. And they were like, do you think one of these sharks impregnated her? Like, are we going to have a stingray shark hybrid? And then all these scientists were like, parthenogenesis happens, y'all. It's
Yeah.
probably not that.
Yeah. Again, it's like common enough that it happens like fairly regularly in aquariums where like you just end up with an
What's
extra
like the
shark.
why though? Like, why would a female be like, this needs to happen? Like, is there like a trigger to it?
They're not totally sure. It's probably very species dependent and like very environmentally dependent. Like if there's just like plenty of resources available and you can't find a male mate, you would just pump out a female
I guess
anyway.
that would make sense for aquariums then. Like they're pretty like well taken care of, like
right,
resource
they're not
wise.
They're not stressed. They got plenty of food. Like they're just, so it also happens in like snails and insects, crustaceans, spiders, rays, amphibians, crocodiles, birds. Parthenogenesis can happen in a lot of different species. Like it's not like an uncommon thing. It's definitely not the default because it's not great for genetic diversity and stuff like that, right? Like they're not exact clones of their mother when they're born, but they usually involve some amount of like recombination, like genetic recombination of the mother's own DNA. So like she's like swapping stuff around even though it like is all still there in the offspring. There hasn't been like a ton of conclusive research into this, I think, just because it's like rare in nature and like
I don't even know how you would go about researching it.
Yeah, I couldn't find like a ton of great info.
It's not like it's something you can necessarily like induce.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I could not find a lot of good info on the mechanism of it. Because I think the mechanism is something
we probably don't fucking
totally
know.
Sure
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that brings me to clownfish, also known as anemone fish.
My favorite!
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about sequentially hermaphroditic fish here. So we got two species coming up. Clownfish are the first. They're all born as males, right? So they don't really have like
that's right
sex determining chromosomes like humans and other mammals do. Their sex determination is based on a bunch of environmental factors, and so they have all of the genes there to do both. And when they're born, they have like a proto uterus and stuff that is just like not activated and not functional quite yet. So they're born male. They all share an anemone, and the hierarchy is like related to, the oldest, biggest female is like the dominant one in the anemone. She's the one that is mating and reproducing and laying eggs and all of that fun stuff, right? And she's like the one in charge. There's not a lot of anemones. Fuck. Me saying that word a lot. There's not a lot of anemones.
You sound like Nemo trying to say
anemone. I know, I did. There's not that many of them available, right? I thought you were making
a joke at first.
I wasn't intending to, but it kind of came out as fun. So basically, real estate is like limited on the reef, right? There's only so many of those anemones to go around. So you kind of got to like wait your turn to like get a chance to be the dominant female in the anemone. And you don't become one until later in life. And that happens when like the current dominant female dies and like the next in line goes through a bunch of hormonal changes, and they end up developing into a female with like fully functional sex organs and all that good stuff. Yeah. So there's like, I think there's like 4 or 5 different stages of their life. They call it like the pre-ripe male, like a ripe male. I hate the terminology for this.
I hate
and
then
like a
yeah,
pre-ripe female. Yeah, I don't know who came up with this terminology, but it's awful.
Ripe female.
Yeah. Asian sheepshead wrasse go through a very similar process, but in the opposite direction, right? So they all start out as female, and then like the reef has like one dominant male. And when the old one dies, the next largest female becomes a male. They go through a hormonal process and develop into a male, and then they are now the dominant breeding male on the reef. This happens in so many other fish as well. It's like super common in the fish world, called sequential hermaphroditism. Then we get to anglerfish. These guys, real fun. So
that's them.
Crazy sexual dimorphism in anglerfish.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So that's the female. And that little thing hanging off of her down there, that is the male. That is a male anglerfish.
Crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, wow.
This is what we call.
So all of the anglerfish with like the like stereotypical like overhead light, those are all female.
They are all female.
Oh, it's called a lure.
Mm-hmm. I think it's named after a fishing lure because they'd be fishing.
That makes sense. That's a cute name. I love that.
It is, yeah. So this is what we call sexual parasitism. It happens in a couple of different species. But basically the males attach themselves to the females permanently. And their like circulatory systems like become interconnected, and like the female is like sending food and nutrients to the male, who is now like
so much.
permanently bonded to her. And sometimes there can be more than one male attached to the female anglerfish.
Okay.
Then whenever she wants to produce offspring, like she's able to like get the sperm out of him and like fertilize the eggs internally and like do all this stuff. And yeah, they just like
you may or may not know the answer to this question.
Mm-hmm.
Does the parasitic male have his own consciousness?
I don't know.
Like, is he still?
You can. I don't know.
Like
I don't
his
know.
own entity?
Do fish have consciousness? They like. I saw a really cool paper.
This is gonna get deep.
About the like immune system response that goes on when this happens, because they're now like sharing a circulatory system and stuff, and it's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand it, and like he's like still living and still like a separate organism, but they just like attach and like form this parasitic kind of connection.
Weird.
Yeah. But what it lets her do
It reminds me of like mammals growing a fetus and like how they're interconnected. But even then, it's like there is a share between the circulatory system, but it's through the placenta. Like there's that intermediary, and like they still have their own individual circulatory. So that's so weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way that the whole like your body like turns off the immune response while pregnant to like not kill the child growing inside of you, like in that area, is really interesting too.
Because like a fetus feels very like parasite adjacent.
It kind of is in many ways.
Like sharing off of your food source and like depleting you of nutrients and like not providing to the
it's like heart isn't beating, or like I mean it is beating, but like it's fed by your circulatory system until they're outside, like it can't breathe.
Yeah, like reliant on.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy. Yeah, and the fact that there can be like more than one on there means that the female anglerfish has a lot of choice in like who she wants to reproduce with and when she wants to reproduce with them. Like they're just kind of there.
Where are they like attaching at? Just anywhere?
Just like I think pretty much anywhere on the body. I could be wrong about that, but it everything I've read seems to suggest that they just kind of like chomp on there,
take a spot,
and then like it starts doing this, you know.
I hate
develops.
it. I hate it so much. I hate it, but also in a way that I love. Like, it's so weird.
It is.
And it also feels so unnecessary.
Once again, fundamentally unserious place down in the ocean. I mean, there's like, the deep sea is just weird. Like, there's always something weird going on down there.
Yeah, the deep sea feels very, like, alien in a lot of ways.
It sure does. It sure does. And all the deep sea fish are like super slow moving, very like non-energy intensive. Like they just kind of exist for like hundreds of years down there, and like
because it feels like a very weird like amalgamation of like different epigenetic factors. Like they're in these weird, strained environments. At least weird from like our perspective of like what environment is. So you get like these weird adaptations.
Weird things get in like a cave.
Yeah,
Like
I would
cave
agree.
fish.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to do a caves episode, Nick.
We should do a caves episode. I think caves are awesome.
I
And
forgot
I
about
love the word-
caves.
I love the word troglodyte just in general, and I love that is like an actual word that is used to refer to like cave dwelling species. Like, it's so funny to me because I've heard you like calling a person a troglodyte is just like so much fun.
I've never heard that
Like,
before.
It literally just means like cave dweller. Like, you're calling someone a caveman, basically.
It sounds
like-
like a slur.
It does, but they actually like use it to refer to like cave species. They're like the troglodytic version of like a surface species. Yeah, and so like the anglerfish is cool here too because like they may go like weeks or months without a meal, right? So you don't want to like reproduce without immediately eating, because it's such a like strained environment. Like resources are very scarce in the deep ocean, and when you get food, you really want to make the most of it. So that's why, that's part of why this happens, right? It's the male stays on her so that she can just like have that source of sperm available for when she's ready to reproduce. But like, she doesn't know when that's going to be. It could be months, it could be weeks, it could be, it all depends on when food shows up.
It's like the guy you keep on deck. Like the guy that you're like, I don't really care about him, but like, I guess if I ever need him, he's there.
Yeah. Well, and this happens in a lot of other species that they can store the sperm from a male and sometimes like use it multiple times. They can like fertilize themselves. They only need to have sex once, but can like produce multiple groups of offspring. I don't remember. I think a lot of like lizards do that, if I remember right.
Okay.
Maybe some birds where they just like store it like inside their body and like don't fertilize the eggs until they're ready, and then can produce multiple clutches or litters of children from that one time having sex. Yeah, so that happens a bunch. We also have in the ocean the holder of the record of longest penis to body size ratio. That title belongs to barnacles. Barnacles are...
How long is the penis, Nick?
I think it's like 3 times the body, like 3 to 10 times the body length or something like that. It's
Nick,
pretty
imagine
big.
your penis being 3 times your body length.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be giant. I mean, it's like, we'll take an average like 5-foot man. It's like a 15-foot penis. I mean, it's huge. Like, could you imagine?
I'm like crunching the numbers.
Yeah,
I'm like
it's
decreasing by 3.
Or bigger. Because that's on the low end. Barnacles are like small stationary filter feeders, right? So they build these shells around them and attach to a surface. So they cannot move once they are in place. So if you want to have sex once you are stuck there, you either need to you either release sperm and eggs into the water column, or you have what barnacles did and develop a penis size that is like multiples of your body length so that you can give her the old reach around and have sex with your neighbors without actually having to leave the little shell that you built. Yeah. It's wild. We also
don't like barnacles in general.
I don't like barnacles in general
me
either.
neither.
Coming out of the shell, it looks freaky.
They are. And they're like
I don't like
sharp.
most sea creatures though.
I remember my brother like shredded his leg once on like a barnacle covered dock or something when we were swimming in Florida, and like they're like sharp and hard and like they'll fuck you up, and they're kind of gross.
I'm not a big crustacean fan.
Yeah.
Could do without.
So seahorses, the males are actually the ones that get pregnant in seahorses. The females have like
what was that show with the seahorse? He was a teacher and he gets pregnant. Was it Fish? I remember the theme song.
Wait,
it was like,
I feel
1, 2, 3, 4. Who's that knocking at your door?
I kind of know what you're referencing.
5,
I
6,
have no
7,
idea what
8.
that is.
It was a
What show is that?
I don't think I ever watched it, but I feel like I would see commercials for it.
And their teacher was a seahorse, and at some point he gets pregnant in the show. It's like, I want to say it's like Fish Tales or Fish, but I think I'm just thinking of the show Shark Tales.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Shark Tale, but I don't think it's Shark Tale. Is
the
there
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Might be it.
Is there a seahorse in Shark Tale? Shark Tales?
There's not one in Shark Tale. I'm definitely thinking of the Disney show.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a pregnant male teacher seahorse in the show.
Yeah, so the females actually have like an ovipositor that is like kind of like a penis that like they swim up to the male and they deposit their eggs inside of the male.
So how are they determining male or female?
Right. So I believe in this case the eggs are like vastly bigger comparatively, and they're not capable of moving on their own, whereas the male seahorses still produce sperm that is like motile and stuff like that. But there is, something to be said about like we're applying male and female onto other species when maybe that's not like a perfect descriptor, because like not every animal like has uteruses and eggs and the same sex chromosomes that we do, right? We already talked about a couple different types of sex determination. And like kind of like even like just male female sex kind of breaks down a little bit if you look too hard at biology, and like things get kind of weird. And so some groups will just refer to them as like A and B or whatever gender or sexes. But generally it's based on the like which one produces a bunch of very small, very movable gametes, and which ones produce the big like nutrition filled non-motile gametes. But yeah, seahorses do the whole mpreg thing. And they're weird in other ways too, but
okay, so hypothetically speaking, if you could carry the fetus for your partner, like if y'all had to choose, you take it up that mantle.
I would prefer eggs. I think that would be so much easier. Then you could like take turns.
Eggs is not an option.
Yeah,
you hold the fetus or she holds the fetus and you're birthing it through your dick hole.
Ugh. I mean, I would hope I'd have better biology for birth giving at that point.
Okay, let's say you also have a vaginal canal.
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, but yeah. I mean, at that point, you're basically just like swapping. I mean, no, I'm not like excited to like give birth. I don't think anyone is. I don't think anyone's like, man, I love birth. The act of birthing.
It sounds like you're agreeing to it for like social pressure. You're like, damn, if I don't do it though, people are gonna be like mad at me. Which I would be. I'd be like, right. Nick, you're such a wimp. You made her do it.
Yeah. I would totally male penguin though, and like, watch for that. Watch
sit
out
on
for
the
that
eggs.
Egg. Yeah, I would. Yeah,
that's not the same though.
It's not. Birds have it easy.
That's like bare minimum.
Water.
Like you're just being a parent at that point.
Yeah,
watching the child.
It's like when, exactly. It's like when people say say that dads are babysitting, and it's like you're not babysitting, that's your kid.
Yeah,
you're parenting. If you're not pushing a watermelon out of your pussy, I don't think it counts. I'm just saying.
Oh man, yeah. Birds really do have like a good like thing going where they like take turns taking care of the egg or chick.
Even laying an egg sounds like it would not be fun.
Yeah, it probably isn't great, but like at least it's like smooth and like
it'd be a baby-sized egg still.
Yeah, it is pretty big relative to body size still. That's a good point. But it is smooth and it's a hard shell, which might make it slightly better.
Are they a little floppier when they first come out? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not an egg expert here.
I think
it depends on the species.
Depends on the species.
Like a reptile egg.
Reptile eggs are definitely
reptile eggs
soft.
are really flexible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they like harden over time.
So, yeah, Nick, sounds like you'll take on the fetus out of social pressure, but not out of love.
I would love to sit on
You're
an
giggling,
egg,
but you're not
and
responding.
I would take turns sitting on
I
an
didn't
egg
ask you to
any day
sit
of
on the
week.
egg. I didn't ask you to sit on the egg, Nick. I asked you to make a whole person and poop it out.
I mean, if my biology was like, I have to be the one to do it, like sure, but I don't
Nick's
want
gonna
to.
be over here
I
arguing.
mean,
I
I don't really want
to.
kids anyway. So like,
Yeah.
you know,
Nick's gonna be over here arguing like, oh, your biology is better. Like my little dick hole is just not as good.
the hardware's just not there, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what men just always be saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, so male seahorses have like pseudo like wombs that the eggs are deposited into, and then he like releases sperm into his own little pseudo womb that fertilizes all the eggs. I think there's an insect species that has like where the females have a pseudopenis as well, and instead of depositing the eggs inside the male, where he then goes on to care for them and raise them, her pseudopenis also acts like a vacuum and is able to suck them back up once they've been fertilized. So she like puts the eggs in him. He fertilizes them with like an internal penis that like, you know, releases sperm. And then she vacuums the eggs back up into her own body, where she will then go on to care for them and lay them later, which is just also fucking nuts.
All right, well.
Yeah. And I think that might be the last slide. I've got one more thing for us tonight, which is I just want to mention blue whales ejaculate approximately 20 liters of semen at a time. Which is a lot.
At a time?
At a time! In a single ejaculation.
Nick, I dead ass thought you were going to say per year.
No, 20 liters! That's 20 of these 1 liter water bottles. It's a lot of liquid.
So what is it per year?
I don't know. It probably depends on how much sex they're having.
Per whale? Or all whales?
No.
Yeah, like I would say per year per whale, and then how many whales are. I want to know how much cum is in the ocean at a time.
I think it's a lot, especially when you take into account all the
fish. You didn't crunch
that are
the numbers on this?
I didn't. No, I'm sorry, I didn't look up how many fish there were in the ocean, but
I didn't ask about the fish. I asked about the whales.
Well, no, but I also mentioned all the fish that are like releasing sperm into the water without like doing anything. There's a lot.
How much cum is in the ocean, Nick? It's a simple question.
I don't know. Well, there's probably less than there was in 1800 before the whaling industry really got its start.
Well, has Nick been in the ocean or not? That's going to change our answer.
Oh, man.
I love that I just say ridiculous things and you giggle and don't like have any retort.
I don't know how to respond. Yeah. Also, whale penises are called dorks, which I think is really funny.
What's the spelling on that?
D-O-R-K, exactly like you thought. If you look at whale dork,
why do they have a different name?
I don't know.
Yeah, why isn't it just penis?
I don't know. There's a lot of like weird names that get given to like animal groups or animal parts. It was probably
like Dr. Dork found it.
Maybe, or it's like an old English word or something like that, and it just like existed in like the whaling industry. There's like a lot of weird words that come from like sailing and stuff like that, like port and starboard.
How big are whale penises?
They are very big. They are the largest penises in the animal kingdom.
Well, I knew that.
Blue whales, I want to say, can be up to like 10 feet or something like that.
Are there bones in the whale penis? Like, could you find a whale penis bone? Or is it
actually
like a human penis?
A lot of animal penises have some kind of like bone or bone-like structure in them. I believe blue whales also have them. Yeah, they can get up to like almost 10 feet, basically, for blue whales. And
so that's a 1 story of a building.
Yeah, 1 story. It's taller than every human ever.
I'm picturing like 2 Kayleys stacked on top of each other minus a few inches.
Pretty much, yeah. They are huge. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, they're big animals, you know. Mating in the water is hard because, again, it's like hard to grab onto each other. Whales have that problem as well.
Yeah, they don't have arms.
They don't have arms. They don't even have teeth to, like, I mean, we're not talking toothed whales here. We're talking baleen whales. But yeah, they can't like even bite each other to hold on like sharks do. Like, I think, you know, they've got flippers. They can like stay near each other, and they're so big that they don't like move very quickly. So I think they can like get and stay close enough for long enough that, you know, you get the old reach around with your 10-foot long penis, and that's just how it goes. Yeah.
Size isn't everything, Nick. Don't be disappointed.
I don't think anyone wants a 10-foot long penis. I mean, like, any human.
Unless you're a whale.
What are you gonna do with that? You know, I mean, it's taller than you are, and it's not like an octopus
hard to buy pants.
where it's also an arm. You know, you can't even like use it.
God, brings a whole another meaning to a third leg.
Mm-hmm. Sure does. An eighth leg. Yeah, so that's about all I have for you tonight.
That's everything? That's all the sex you have for me today?
That's all of the weird animal sex that I was able to get to, yeah.
Okay, well, I will post all of the images for the audio listeners onto our Instagram at This Pod Counts. So if you're not following us, you should definitely go follow us. I would appreciate it. Let's try to hit 30 subscribers.
Ooh.
Coming up. No, 30 followers.
30 followers.
And then on the, 30 followers. That's what Instagram calls them. And then on our YouTube channel, if you're watching, if you could actually subscribe to us and not just be a freeloader watching for free, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like
let's
to
make
subscribe.
Our goal for the goal for the YouTube channel, let's get to 10 subscribers.
Ooh.
That would be a big deal. Yeah. And then if you have any like suggestions for episodes, or like you really enjoyed listening and you want to add to the conversation, or you really hated listening and you want to send us some hate mail, then you should email us at thispodcounts@gmail.com. And I think that's everything I have for you. So we'll be back next week with another fun, tantalizing, hilarious, amazing episode. I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. So go ahead, go to the backlog, listen to the first 7 episodes, and
thanks for joining us, Sarah.
9 next week.
Yeah,
Sarah, thank you so much for coming. I didn't realize like how perfect of a guest you were for this week's episode with your zoo background and your penis knowledge.
Yeah.
your extensive
Sarah,
penis knowledge. I did look up the snail.
I didn't realize Sarah had...
Yeah.
You looked into the snail?
I looked up the snail thing. So they have these like spiky, like hard penises that they try to stab each other with and inject they don't have like a like vaginal opening on the outside where they like mate through. They just like stick it into the other snail and it like goes in their circulatory system and makes its way to the vagina eventually, where it like develops into an embryo. But yeah, they like fight each other and like try to impregnate the other, and sometimes they impregnate both of them. Like impregnate each other.
Sometimes you can get a double.
Yeah, sometimes you get a double mating event. Yeah.
A BOGO deal.
It's wild.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to everyone. Make sure to interact and tune in next week. Bye.
Yep. Thanks, Sarah.